I think both of you covered a lot of the things that I would have covered in my opening statement. There's no question, though, the simplest, biggest issue right now, I think that you raised, that has to do with the visa issue and streamlining that process, and obviously getting more of the consulars hired so that we can increase the number of people coming to the United States, because people don't realize in the United States that it's either number one or number two industry in the United States is tourism. And the more that we can have foreign travelers coming to the United States, it improves our relations with people all over the world. It does improve commerce. When people come here, they see opportunities to invest and bring dollars to the United States, not only what they spend in tourism dollars, but also what they spend in investment dollars by coming to the United States. So I think this is a very, very important hearing. Thank you. Mr. Donahue, do you have any, talking about adding some of these, whether they're temporary or permanent, do we have any statistics on, like, for every one you add, how many more tourists we can bring to the United States each year?
We don't have a figure for that. A visa officer can do somewhere between 8 and 12, depending on 1,000 visas a year, depending on the country where they're serving. So it varies quite a bit. And I think it's important to know that if you issue a visa in most countries, maybe you only see that person once in their whole life, because we can, again, renew the visa even after those 10 years without them coming in. So there's a multiplier effect on those who once they have their visa.
The reason I bring that up, it seems like a pretty easy numbers game to justify, you know, hiring the extra staff, doing basically whatever it takes, especially in these kind of economic times. I mean, my state's not the only one that's very tourism dependent. On the entire country benefits greatly from these overseas travelers, and even when they come to visit one of our specific states, international travelers usually travel to several places in the United States. So I think just from an encouragement standpoint, we can't encourage you enough. I can't tell you across my state how many people have told me that their customers wait and wait and wait to get to the United States. You're seeing the huge explosion of gaming in Macau. A lot of those people actually want to come to the United States, and we talk about the balance of trade, you know, and those are dollars that can come to the United States instead of dollars that obviously go to Macau, and those can create jobs here. And it's not just obviously in gaming; it's all of the other, you know, benefits. The people that come here to do that also go to the Grand Canyon. They go to the Mall of America. People like to visit Alaska. All of those other places that we have. The reason that we wanted the Travel Promotion Act in the first place, because we know we have so much to sell here in the United States. So, you know, I want to add my voice to the chairman here that it is critical that we start adding some of these people and do it as quickly as possible. And you know, I've talked to quite a few people who are now learning Mandarin just because of the opportunities, not only in China, but some of them are actually having trouble finding jobs. So you may want to advertise this if this is something that you all are going to be hiring. You may want to get the word out there, because I think that there are a lot of people who are looking for jobs, and this may be a place where they can find some of those. When it comes to, are you looking at? I know some of the proposals being advocated by the private sector include doubling the number of visas by some of these countries, China, Brazil, and India, and allowing Brazil to enter the visitor waiver program, taking a greater advantage, as the chairman talked about video conferencing. Can you discuss just some of those issues that what you all are doing?
Sure. As I mentioned earlier, the first thing we're trying to do is make sure that we can get those people in, get the interviews quickly, and we share your concern for doing that. We understand the importance to our economy, and as does Secretary Clinton. The idea of video conferencing is one that we have tried. It does not. There's two problems with it. We don't think it is more efficient. In other words, we will not interview more people, won't bring more people in. In fact, it will have just the opposite impact. We believe that the process of video interviewing, an officer will be able to do less interviews a day. In addition, the purpose of the in-person interview is to really assess the person who's standing in front of you and make a determination whether they're going to use the visa properly. And in a two-dimensional Skype-type situation, even with the best technologies, we don't believe that we'll be able to make those decisions because it's a three-dimensional live presence that we feel is very important.
Why do we do, versus the UK, why do we have every virtually universal? Do they feel safer than we do? What was the decision-making process there?
Yeah, this is a different theory, I think, when you look at that. We made a decision after 9/11 that we needed to have that personal interview when we were going to issue a visa to someone. We felt that that was very important to our national security, and it was placed in the law following 9/11. So it's a different theory. I think there's another thing about the vastness of our country and the openness of our society, the fact we don't have national identification cards. We're a free and open society, so that once you arrive here, if your intention is to stay, it's pretty easy to do so.
Well, thank you. I have a big concern, and Steve, I want to welcome, by the way, and proud of the job that you're doing with your board. But when we saw something like the video that Mr. Dow showed, you know, when you spend your marketing dollars and then they have those kind of things happen in those countries, that blunts the goodwill that you can, you know, sometimes, you know, a bad story people remember a lot more than they do a good story. And I'm very concerned about that. There is this perception out there. It's one of the reasons that we wanted the Travel Promotion Act in the first place, was to try to overcome some of the perceptions. But some of those perceptions are actually reality, as we've seen with the wait times. And I guess if you're out there promoting, do you fear that the wait times will just get worse if the bureaucracy doesn't get out of the way?
Well, therein lies, you know, a conundrum of business. If we create tremendous demand, can we keep up? And we are concerned that there is a philosophy within state, and if we would handle that in business, we would go hire 500 or 1,000 more people, where the State Department said, well, we're hiring 120. And candidly, we wouldn't operate that way in business. And it is a very big concern that we have, because we are going to create marketing messages and promote this country, brand USA for the first time, and do so in a way to dispel those messages. We're going to educate folks in other countries on how wonderful our land is and how easy that process is, and you will be greeted nicely when you show up. But we can't have videos like that as USTA is presented today.
And
well, go ahead.
Senator Ensign, if I could interject here. On that, the presentation that was made to Secretary Locke, and I want to submit this for record, states that the metrics have to be obtained and we have to establish goals. To your point, we need an and. We need to fix the process, measure and establish goals for improvement, and market. And then, you know, it has to all be done simultaneously in a rather urgent fashion to be able to gain the economic growth that we're looking for.
I can tell you this, Senators, that I have visited the ports with Customs and Borders. I have personally been there. I've looked at the Trusted Traveler program, which is fantastic, but we're not marketing that well enough in the United States yet. And hopefully Customs and Borders will do a good job. But they are working hard, and Department of Homeland Security is extremely open-armed with regard to the hospitality sector, helping them come in and script and train. So it's not like the government, you know, I don't want to keep bashing people because we keep hearing that, but Homeland Security is really trying hard. Customs and Borders is trying hard. We have a problem in the United States of, you know, the entry process. It starts, you know, when you make a reservation for a hotel, you got to be sweet, because that's when the vacation starts.
Yeah, I just want to make a couple of comments on that. We know that this is a very difficult time post 9/11. We all understand that. I think that everybody does, and they do have a delicate balance, balancing security with, you know, getting tourists into the country, but we also know what works. And you mentioned, you know, if this was the private sector, you would hire 500 to 1,000 new people. One is it doesn't cost any money to do that, although the logistics of some of that with some of the space may come into play, as was mentioned today. But still, that should be overcome because we hear a lot about outsourcing of jobs. You know, manufacturing, we outsource jobs. Well, you can't outsource tourism jobs. In other words, our jobs are here unless you don't get the tourists to come here, thereby you outsource the jobs to other countries, which is exactly what we're doing by losing market share. We can insource those jobs very easily by not a heck of a lot of, like you said, $1 spent, $20 earned. I mean, that's a pretty good investment on anybody's balance sheet, and we need to recognize that, and I would encourage, I think that's one of the reasons this hearing was very important, is to bring these kinds of issues to the forefront so that the folks who are in the government understand what's at stake here, how much economic prosperity can be gained by all of this. So I think this hearing is very important to bring forward.
Thank you, Senator. And we've known each other for a long time, and I've known others on this great committee. You know that I don't take no for an answer. And I'm not exactly, you know, a guy with kid gloves. I'm a bull in the china shop. So I'm going to continue to do that in a very polite and delicate way to push this forward, because we've got a lot of money to market this great land with. Other countries are doing the same thing against us. And this is a no-brainer for GDP and jobs.
It is.